Uh-oh. Hopefully chat's connected now. Hey everybody, thanks for watching Common Sense Fishing. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time you're watching us, as always. Thanks for watching. So tonight we got a good video, I think, for you guys tonight. We're going to be getting a little personal. We're going to talk about some things. We're also going to talk about some crazy stories, some weird adventures, and a lot of it's fishing related. But we're also going to talk about some other stuff. And we're going to talk about the power of fishing. And what I mean by that is the effect and the influence that fishing can have, and the positive aspects of it on our mental health and our psyche. But also beware of overly fishing and fishing too much and neglecting our family, our loved ones, and neglecting doing other things that we enjoy and get an excitement out of in life, because it's hard to find a balance, right? And fishing can be a very selfish enjoyment when you're out there by yourself. Helps to take a friend, take a loved one, but again, balancing. Do you have a hobby? Do you bowl? Do you play sports? Do you watch sports? Do you play cards? What's going on? So let's see about this chat thing. It says it's not working here, and I noticed we've dropped the people that were on watching. So hopefully audio is okay and every video is okay. It's like chat's working. So all right, cool. Just wanted to double check. So at least on my end it's working. So anyways, so there's some things I want to share with you guys, as far as what it's kind of hard to explain because there's a reason why I'm talking about this tonight, and but it's not my business to share. But I got my own business I'd like to share, and I also just, again, that's only a small part of it. I want to talk about the power of fishing and how important it is, I think, to get the youth involved with fishing, to get as many people involved with fishing as possible. It doesn't even have to be tournament fishing, just fishing, which is why I'm so open about my lures, my techniques, where I fish, what I catch them on, just all that stuff. I don't hide one single thing. If I could, I would take you on the boat and guide you along to have some fun. Now, I'm not the world's greatest fisherman. My friends jokingly call me Sam Pro because obviously my name's Sam and I'm GoProing, right? YouTubing and stuff. So hence the joke, he thinks he's a pro type thing, hey, Sam Pro. So it's kind of my unofficial nickname. I like it. I dig it. I think it's cool. So, but yeah, I want to help people. And so, I think it's also important that we help each other. So I've got some friends that are going through some real tough times right now, but we're just going to leave it at that. And I'm going through some pretty tough times right now. I don't mind sharing my drama with you guys because I really don't care. I'm an open book. I'm an honest person. There are obviously times when, we fib a little bit, right? I think all humans do a certain amount to a degree, right? Do I look pretty today or da da da? The white lies, but I think I try to avoid even those, because just once you start lying, it's easier to just keep doing it. So, I think it's a good way to live. But anyways, um, I have some issues going on. We'll talk about maybe some of those, but I also want to share some crazy stories with you guys. But we're starting this off with the power of fishing and how it's helped my issues, how it's helped people I know, and how it can help maybe you or people you know. And I also want to start off before we get too far into the night with saying that if anybody ever out there needs a friend to talk to, someone just to message and genuinely listen to you, um, even if I don't know you, I would rather be there for you than people do dumb things and bad things. And especially my friends or even acquaintances, please, at the drop of a dime, uh, just reach out to me if you ever need someone to talk to. And I think as humans and as people, we should strive to do that as much as we can for each other. It's not a waste of my time if I don't have nothing going on. And even if I do, it's not a waste of my time to spend a few minutes to speak with you, to listen to your message, to talk back or to respond, to give you a little advice, or just to be your ear. And I think it's important that we be there for each other, but especially our friends, our family, and our close ones. Treat each other right. But the power of fishing is just it's so important mental wise. You get out on the water, just the worries of the world kind of melt away. And even if your mind just can't get off certain things, say you have bill problems or you have health problems or marital problems or financial or whatever it happens to be, or in my case, almost all of them, right? But when you have those issues, sometimes it can be really tough to get your mind off those. And even when we get on a lake, those things can still haunt us, which is why when you hook up with a fish, you actually start catching them, that emotion is like a drug that overrides all depression, all stress and anxiety, all worry just melts away for those few moments. And if you have someone to enjoy that time with, to smile, to crack jokes, it makes the healing all the much better. And when we're out on the lake and we're out spending the day fishing, and uh, even if we're not out there to kind of decompress, we all know that that's what it feels like, right? The old saying, better a day on the lake, right? Not catching anything than a day at the office. And so fishing is just such an important pastime or hobby, I'm going to say, because yeah, it's a sport, but how do you take it? So if you're too stressed and amped about winning these tournaments, about like all you're thinking about is the glory or the money, because let me tell you, unless you're the top elite, like 1% of all fishermen in the world or all competitors in the world, you're never going to actually make money. You might be lucky to break even. Like you might win some tournaments, but you're not going to get paid off these tournaments. Your job is what's going to pay you, or however else you earn money. You might win a few, right? But if you fish consistently, you're going to lose as much as you win. And then just the pre fishing, the gas, the lures, it just, I mean, literally, unless you're fishing $100,000 tournaments, it just doesn't pan out a lot as far as financially. But it pans out, it pays dividends mentally, right? So what I'm getting at is I'm not discouraging tournament fishing, because I'm going to do it all this year. I'm going to do it all next year. I'm going to be tournament fishing like a savage. So I'm going to be super stoked to just, I won't be a fishing fool. So don't forget, guys, smash that like button if you guys get a chance. And if you guys would like to comment, go ahead. It's weird. I don't see any comments right now up on the board. So I don't know if you guys are commenting and I'm not seeing anything, or you guys are just being quiet listening to me. But anyways, so it's kind of weird because I'm doing the live stream and I'm watching and listening at the same time. But anyways, so I'm just going to keep going on. And if I don't see anything, I'll check the chat here in a second. But, you know, where was that? Anyways, I could go on about this forever. I love fishing. So when you're out there, I think I know where I left off. So when you're fishing out there, even if you're tournament fishing, it's just like the old saying in sports, like play like Kittle does, right? Have fun. You know, sports is supposed to be fun. Even when you get to the big league, like when you get to the big leagues, then it's about right cashing that check. It's about the W, and it can become very stressful. So on that super high level, fishing can become stressful. So if you're here on the lower or medium rungs of the fishing life, right, tournament wise, don't let it become stressful. Don't let it eat you up. Don't be consumed by it. Now you can spend your time on it definitely, but enjoy it. Have fun. Drink in the emotions and the moments of the weigh in, of the blast off, of the looks on people's faces, and the determination or the grit, or the sly smirks and laughs because some guys think they have it all figured out because they were pre-fishing, right? Or they know somebody who caught them this or that, or they're just confident. And so enjoy those moments, those heart pounding moments when you hook into fish and when you net them and when you're bagging them. And it's just such an awesome experience. But my point is don't let tournament fishing take the love of the sport out for you. So when you're not tournament fishing, or even if you are, but if you're like on my level, you as far as you want to win, but you just want to have fun, have a great time, you want to learn, you want to get better, and it's just an enjoyment for you. That's great. Do fishing like that is such a benefit mental health wise, because it clears our mind. It's exercise. We're out in the sun getting vitamin D. Now you don't want to get too much, don't want to get skin cancer. Remember to cover up in the summer especially, but it doesn't hurt to get a few hours in the sun. But other than that, you probably, even in the winter, you should stay covered from the UV rays. But it's a great thing. It's healthy for the mind, the body. And so fishing has helped me deal with and cope with a lot of things. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of my story. We're going to talk about some crazy stories. Some of them involve actually, a lot of them involve fishing. Some of you guys have heard these stories before, and you'll know, man, they're true. They never change. The story, I tell it 100 times. It's always the same story. I might get a little excited on one night and tell the story a little longer, but it will always be the same story. So for you guys who have heard these before, you might hear some of them. Some of them might be new to you. And for those of you new to the channel, buckle up, because this is a fun ride. So we're going to talk about some of the crazy stuff I've seen, been through while fishing, but also how fishing's kind of saved my life. And to do that, I want to give you a little bit of a perspective on my life, not a biography or anything, but just a short rundown of what I've been through, and how fishing just literally can keep a guy sane and in a good position in life. But there's a balance to everything, remember. So, when I was little, we moved here from Monterey. I was born in Monterey, moved here to the Central Valley at like 7, 8 years old. It was just a miserable change, weather-wise, heat-wise, allergies. I did not like it, but I met a ton of great people here, and I love it. It's home now, right? But I was born in the Salinas, Monterey area. So I actually lived in Monterey, Pacific Groves. I was born in Natividad, so Salinas, but I like to tell people, obviously, I lived in Monterey, though. So I wasn't born in Monterey Hospital. But anyways, so I get here. I've been in a foster home. I've been bullied, abused. When we left Monterey, I had been abused by a babysitter, been locked out, and like had some crazy things happen to us. At a slightly later age in life, put in erroneously for no good reason, mind you, by the help of my aunt, because her and my mom didn't get along. We were put in a foster home for like a year, in which case I endured some more abusement and some bad times, as well as some good times. I spent some time on a farm. I got beat up by a goose or a geese. I used to pick on them and mess with them, and this goose beat my ass. He jumped on me, flapping wings, pecking, jacking me up, right? So, I spent some time on a farm for sure. Oh, hey, guys, now I can see your chat. So get smashed, never post it. That's me. I don't know, guys. I post when I get my butt kicked all the time. What you seen me win yet, right? So I don't just go out there and then like post fishing videos and then lose and then be like, ooh, not put it up there. I even put when I got skunked. Well, I technically didn't get skunked. I got a big old crappie, but my buddy got 3 bass. I decide to hell with it. I'm going anyways. We fished the next day and we end up sticking 12 and some change, almost 13 pounds. Me and my son had a great time. I'm so glad I went. That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, folks. I took my son out fishing. We had a great time, and we pre-fished, and I got skunked. I caught a crappie, but I didn't catch any bass. And so I take my son with me, who's just a kid. He's 13 years old. And I got my buddy who's like a good fisherman, right? He catches 3. I don't get none. And I'm thinking I'm going to go in with my son and do any better. Sure enough, we go in and smack him. So it was exciting. It was fun. Look at the smile on my face right now. So that's the stuff, man. When you go to the grave, you can't take these autographed footballs with you. You can't take the money with you. You can't take the nearest or the newest awesome cell phone or the newest GoPro or whatever. You can't take all your subscribers, right? You can't take nothing with you, man. It's these emotions, it's these memories that makes life so precious. And so fishing is such a powerful thing. So, anyways, now I can see you guys' comments. So we're gonna get back to my story. So yeah, I had been in a foster home, broken and abused, just had bad times. I've had some great times in my life at that point. But then I get back into my home. I get bullied at school. I get messed with at school. Um, Growing up in high school, I used to get chased around when I was skinny and small when I was little. I grew up and blew up in the 10th grade. So after all this drama in like the 10th grade, my mom has a mental breakdown and has to go like to the mental hospital. And at that time, my mom and dad were divorced or separated. So I didn't want to go back in the foster home. So thank God my uncle David, who lived up in Sacramento, he took me and my younger brother and my other brother who he had some mental issues. He's awesome. I love him, but he had some problems. They had to put him in Kingview. So he was like in a special needs home up in the mountains, like almost like but it was more like a group home for troubled ones, not like, really messed up ones, you know, but the troubled ones. So like autistic and Asperger's and stuff who would do bad things and dumb stuff. But anyways, so we've been split up, had a couple times. I went to Sacramento where I'd seen because here we grew up here. The Castle Air Force Base was here. I had Mexican friends, black friends, Asian friends, white friends for the day that I could remember. We just had a really diverse group of kids. Of course, you hear, someone say a racist term towards an Asian or Mexican or black or a white name, right? So I learned them all at a young age, knew them. But we all hung out. We all got along really good. I went to Sacramento. It was crazy. I went to Luther Burbank High, where they were literally separated. Like the white people didn't hang out with the black people much. There was just all these gangs. The white people were a lot of Russians, mafia dudes, or like hardcore, like headbanger rock and roll dudes. You had a small group of nerds, right? That all hung out together. Big, different, all the smartest kids in school. But literally, it was It was crazy. There were gunshot holes in the side of like the stucco in the building in certain places. Man, that school was crazy, gangster as hell. And I made it through there, and I grew up all big, poof, and came back to Merced. It had to, nobody bullied me after that. But after that, we ended up having some bad life choices, and we ended up homeless. And before that, fell in love with this beautiful, gorgeous, hot woman. She would easily be like on my scale to my standards. She was easily like a 9. Like she was hot, especially back then, right? So I was just like super head over heels with this chick. She gets pregnant. I'd change my life around, and I get a job. I start making good money. I open up an account. I start saving. I'm all stoked to be a dad, and she runs off, man, takes the kid. And long story short, she ended up putting him up for adoption, and that's the kid that we did a DNA test. I've talked to the foster parents, but I haven't got to meet my son yet. So then after that, we end up homeless, and I slept under a bridge. I slept in some bad places, friend house. And then eventually my mom convinced her friend, because my mom was sleeping on one of her friend's couch. My mom convinced her friend to let me sleep on a little tiny love seat in the garage. Black widows everywhere. Summer, it was like 120 in there. It was miserable, but it was good to have a roof over my head. And let's see here. Long story short, abridged, a lot of the negatives so you understand how powerful fishing is. So I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but had a lot of bad times. Oh, we had the car crash, 120-mile-an-hour car crash. I'm going to tell you guys that story a little bit later in depth. But one of my friends died. I had to bring him back to life. We hit a big old boulder the size of a table, did 3 flips, sunk underwater, was trapped, couldn't get out, fighting the windows, the seatbelt, the door, couldn't get out. bent my door in half. Got out. Me and my other buddies got out, and one of them was trapped 10 minutes under there. We all had PTSD. Nobody could go down. As soon as you went to go under the water, you had a heart attack down there because you were just trapped. Like, I'm not, this ain't no joke. Like, the car was instantly filled with water. This wasn't no movie. This was like the legit, it was the craziest shit I ever been through in my life, almost, or one of them. And I'll tell that story maybe here in a little bit. But anyways, um, yeah, my friend died. And the fire department came in with the helicopter, and I was doing rescue breathing. We brought him back to life. That same friend is now dead. Committed suicide. They say, rest in peace. So I've had through the course of my life about 15 good friends die. I can name them off. Michael and Marlis Riley, Merced residents. Um, One of them was shot to death on a street corner. One of them was beat to death by his friends. Old school Andy, my best friend from back in the days, his heart blew up in his chest a couple years back, left the family. Grant Wilson died of cancer. I've lost my son, my mom, all of my family, aunt, uncle, or my grandparents, at 13 to 15. So a lot of death in the family at a young age that you had to process. You had to think about life. Hey, what's up, guys? So glad to see you guys on tonight. I'm going off of just a really quick story about some stuff that I'd been through. So I want you guys to understand how powerful fishing is for me, how much I love it. I think that's why I want to try to get as many people involved in fishing as possible, and just pump the sport out there. I think more people need to be doing stuff outdoors with their family and kids, all that good stuff. So and don't worry about redacting your messages, man. If you say something, you say something. That's how I be. But I mean, if you really, if you want to take it back, whatever. But don't worry, you're not going to hurt me though. Like, I'm not going to feel bad. I don't have thin skin. But I tell it as it is. I'm an open book. I don't got much to hide. And I'm a savage, like, as you can hear what I've been through in my life. So words don't bother me. Things that people say on the internet don't bother me. I deal with the trolls pretty well. So anyways, smash that like if you get a chance. And unfortunately, I've been banned from Facebook for 24 hours because I watched some video of a prick GOP congressman in Florida getting pulled over driving 60 in a 40, basically. And then he threatened the cop, do you know who I am? Blah, 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 right? So I went to this fool's page and said this fat bastard should be strung up by his balls, like a joke, obviously, but like, that's sickening what he did to try to get that cop fired. And do you know I was just like, if you watch the video, I think it's Martin Hyde. Just search that name. It's super viral right now. So he's like a big Ken, right? But he's a Karen or whatever, Steve or Ken. I don't know what the hell we call him these days, Bob. But anyway, so I got all frustrated. I went off. So they banned me from Facebook for 24 hours. So I can't share my videos. So I can't post anything right now. So if you guys would be so kind. But anyways, so yeah, life had dealt me a pretty rough hand, and I probably made some dumb decisions myself. I got married, very stoked to be married, and my firstborn child passed away, 2/23/06. I got his tattoo right here. For those of you who may doubt the story. So, then I got divorced. Ooh, that was a messy business too, right? Yeah, life's just been a series of nut punches. Pow! But through all that, I ain't gonna act like, oh, poor me. Life's been so awesome too. I have so many memories. I couldn't even share them with you guys. So many parts. So many crazy emotions, so much happiness. There's been so many times I chilled and we talked about the universe with friends, probably most of the time high on drugs, but when you like figured out the secrets of the universe, when you thought you knew everything, oh man, there's so many nights spent where you almost didn't get no sleep, just like talking and having such an awesome time. So many fishing memories, family memories. Man, life has been so good to me. So, and when you hear like what I say, so how the hell has life been good to you? Because man, if you have perspective and you look at what everyone else has gone through in life, there's people that got it way better. I ain't no Mark Zucker, right? I ain't no Jeff Bezos, and I could be way better off in life, but I could be much worse off in life, especially for what I've been through. Or I could have just been born in a different country, been unfortunate enough to have been born in Africa, or born in Iraq, or born in like Brazil or something, right? I don't know. It's not the races, it's just the country, right? But the point would be, I could have been born in a much worse predicament. I could have been dealt a much worse hand. And so, with what I've been dealt with, I thank God for having the ability to fish, for having the boat, for being able to surpass all my struggles and trials and tribulations, and to even through the shit that I'm going through right now, that I could talk about, being in debt, owning my own business, owing taxes. Like, it's just such a crazy nightmare. Like, I'm doing okay, I'm surviving, I'm happy, but life is just a series of ups and downs. It's got challenges, there's some bad to it, and there's a lot of good to it. And it's all about how you see it. If the glass is half empty or half full, is going to determine what path you take. So, anyways, fishing has had such an important aspect in my life, in de-stressing, in letting those worries just roll off my chest, and letting those memories, like, I remember them, but they don't own me, I own them. And being able to get out and fish and spend time on the water, and just be able to self-reflect, or spend time with a friend, right, and joke and crack all the jokes in the world and sing songs. Oh, taco truck, oh, it's where I'm gonna be. Taco truck, when I'm done fishing. You know, for those of you who see there, we were having fun, having a blast, but we were going to stop at the taco truck on the way home. It's memories like that. So fishing has been such an integral part of my life, and that's why I'm so open about sharing, my love for fishing, and I'm open about talking about my past, because I don't let my demons control me or haunt me. I own them mofos. I got them around a chain around their neck, and I do the best I can. Nobody's perfect, but I feel that I've done really good at conquering some pretty big demons, and I haven't done it all by my lonely. It helps to have a great, awesome wife here who takes care of me as best she can, and who is there by my side. I have some awesome children. One of the other things, my daughter decides she wants to go live with her mom now, so she wants to spend a year over there. She loves me to death. We were all crying about it, but I can't complain. The last 10 years of their life, I've had custody. So, I've got so much time with my children. So that's how I can look in the negative and see a positive, that even though I'm only going to see my daughter now for like 2 months out of the year, maybe three, right? I'm still happy for her, and I cherish all the positive, good things we have had together. So, and I know we're gonna have a lot more better times. She's not gone, she ain't dead. She wants to try living with her moms for a year. She might come back and decide, man, I hated that, and be with dad for the next couple. But anyways, that's the power of fishing. It overcomes and washes away a lot of that stuff. So I just wanted to share that story with you guys, share a little bit about me, and talk about why fishing is such an important, integral part of my life. Because other than some other fun things like bowling, Casper, a little beer here and there, right? My collectibles, but my family, playing some sport. I could still skateboard a little bit, right? Go out and play catch. I love playing catch with the football, catch with baseball. I used to play baseball a little bit, So um, it's a wonderful experience, though, to spend time with someone you love or just care about out on the lake, or to be out there by yourself. So anyways, that's my little story about how powerful fishing is, why I think that people should get engaged with fishing, should share the love of fishing, should just talk about it, should help others too. And I think it's important that as anglers, even though we may have worked really hard and fished years to figure out the little tricks that we know, or the little techniques that even though maybe they talk about on YouTube or this guy or that talk, they work because they work for you. So you want to share them with other people, right? So imagine being that angler. It's the first time out, it's your first few times out, or you fished for 2 or 3 years, but you just suck, kind of, or you're just not that good. And it's not that you suck, you're just not the greatest fisherman. And what better gift to give somebody than more happiness, than helping them catch more fish, than helping them experience more happiness, And I just get a kick out of it. Like the smile, just that's why I do. That's why I do these toy drives every year. Obviously, I do them. I started doing them when I lost my son, 2/23/06. The very next Christmas, I did my very first toy drive. So this year I'm going to be doing toy drives. I got the live well working again. So I'll be all over the place at the Delta, a bunch of other places. So anytime anyone wants to go on a fishing trip, you can donate new unopened toys to me and I'll take you on a fishing trip, or just pay for it and I'll buy the toys. And then we help as many kids as we can. So 2 years ago, my very first Fish Miss video on YouTube, we took care of almost, I think, about 200 kids. This last year, we took care of around 60 or so. We didn't get the greatest turnout. My Kelsey Bass membership expired, and honestly, that's why most people went. You have this legendary place that's known to have monster bass, and it's a private bass pond. And I had a membership, but I'm like, anyways, we're going to get into so what's up? I'm gonna hit the Delta. What's words of wisdom do you have for me? Gonna hit it tomorrow. Let's read some comments real quick, and then we're gonna get into some crazy stories. So real quick, to give you an idea of what we got coming tonight. My son was stalked by a mountain lion. I have proof of it, as far as I have friends. Multiple people were there. We ran into him a few times. A murderer has woken me up in the middle of the night while camping at Don Pedro. We could tell you about that. There's just so much crazy stuff. Rescuing animals, the car crash, and almost drowning. So buckle up. We'll have some fun fishing stories. All be titled, or they'll all be basically involving fishing. So the craziest stuff that I've seen or had happen to me while fishing. So this is all fishing related, and we're going to have some great stories, some fun times real quick here. So let's get into some comments real quick, and we're going to talk. It's probably because I'm moving around too much. My processor or the camera, when I start moving, it starts glitching. So I'm going to try to keep my hands down and not get too excited. And that way, hopefully I won't glitch around. You can't hear anything I'm saying? Uh-oh. How about now? Can you guys hear? Is audio good for everybody else? Oh, no problem, Bass and Seafood. It's going to be a holding pond was bought out by a dairyman. Oh, yeah, Karen and Kevin. Huh? So if you guys can still hear me, let me know in the comments if you could. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Someone was saying still bad, but can you hear me, though? I probably just need to settle down. So I have the mics plugged in. It shows that it's working. But let's see if we can look at audio. You hate mountain lions? Oh, dude. I ran into them like 4 or 5 times. We're going to tell you some cool stories tonight. So if, let me give Mad Bass some Delta tips right now. Real. Okay, well, I'm going to give him a real, a little bit of cloud cover. In the meantime, stick with your underspin, spinner baits, and crankbaits, and cover water. That's going to be the one way you're going to catch some monsters spawn. And you're probably going to want to fish slow. You should be fishing 2 ways, depending on what they're doing and where they're setting up. They're going to be heading towards Frank's track. A lot of them will be, or Mildred. So you're probably going to want to check in those 2 areas. You can also check in Garlic Brothers, which is basically Ben Holt, and any areas like that. 1-800-BASS tip line, 24-hour line, right? Yeah, but look at you, man. Look at the fish you caught. You need to be the one giving out tips. I ain't going to say nothing if you don't want to, though, man. But that's pro level, dude. Good job, man. I'm envy now. I'm like, man, you gotta teach me. The two ways you're gonna want to fish out at the Delta, find the spawning flats, and like I said, it's gonna be Mildred, Frank's Track, um, areas where there are boat docks and stuff, and slips that you can fish. Gonna be stuff like I said, Ben Holt is one of my favorite areas to go to, and you're gonna fish two ways: cover water, so cover lots of water, and spend time throwing some top water crankbait with a biggie papa or a biggie small square bill, and run that thing kind of slow, and then give it erratic jerks or erratic some little speed up moments, and then slow down. Work slower rather than faster. You can try a little fast, but it shouldn't be the time for it right now, so crank really slow. Then try a spinner bait or an underspin. Allows you to get a little deeper and fish just a little bit more slower. Now some people have trouble with a crankbait in the grass or weeds. They just don't know how to use it right. I should probably do a video on that, but you can look, if you have polarized glasses, look for the lanes and fish in between them. So you see a bunch of weeds, but you see an opening where there's like like water, but you don't see any weeds in it, and it's like a little lane. Basically, it could be a foot, it could be 6 inches wide, it could be 2 feet wide. Cast into those real in between the weeds. But if you're reeling along and it's polka dotted, you got all this water, there's just a bunch of weeds and then open spots, run right into them weeds, and then stop and either let your crankbait above them or rip through them once, and you'll pull your crankbait through with a bunch of weeds on it, and then rip it again, and your crankbait will rip right through it, leave all the weeds behind, and then away you go. Just keep doing your thing. And a lot of the times when your crankbait rips through the grass and weeds like that, that's when you get struck by some monsters. So there'll be some pre-spawn big ass mamas out there. So underspin, swim bait slowly, spinner bait slowly, crankbait slowly. Also top water, and don't forget the power of a popper, pop R. So a popper is going to be one of the top water lures that you take and you fish key areas with it. When you see a point, when you see an ambush point where there's a lot of current going around it, take your popper and bloop, and then your popper just sits there, bloop. Instead of a whopper plopper that goes flying by, or a walk the dog bait, even if you stop it and then stop it, the little popper with the little bloop, and then you just sit it there, bloop. That thing, trust me, that's like a couple of like semi pros. That's their secret, and it's also been some of ours for a long time that we don't really talk about, but I'm gonna share with you guys on this channel. I swear to you, like dudes will want to be hella mad at me for telling you this, but a popper, a straight hula popper or a popper, those two, a hula popper is great when you're trying to create a bunch of noise and you're trying to like imitate a frog or something. It works great at the Delta to catch monsters. A popper is great for finesse popping. Bloop, just this little bloop. Oh man, and you got this little key area you want to fish, weeds all around everywhere, and you got this opening. Work a popper. Trust me, it is such a big fish bait. It will draw out monsters, and you can leave your top water in a given area and work it. It's like top water worm fishing. So you're bottom bouncing with your worm and you're dangling it around. And how many times you cast up to a spot and then you dangle your worm and you kind of shake it, and then you dangle it and you kind of shake it, and then you dead stick it, then you kind of dangle or whatever, right? And you only move it a little bit, and a minute in, boom, you get bit, right? So that fish was down there, this, right? So sometimes there'll be a big, and here comes your top water, and the bass has to decide, am I going to eat it or not? Bass might look at that and right, but then when you got this popper, bloom, huh? Bloom, am I going to eat that? What the hell is that? Bloom, hmm? Bloom, 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 huh? You know, that popper, I'm telling you, like, there's just something about it, top water wise, that it will smoke. I'm telling you, a pop bar and a hula popper will hands down beat the shit out of a buzz bait, a whopper plopper, or a Sammy. And I swear to God, dudes will be pissed that I told you this, because it's for fishing a key area, even in big old lakes, not just the Delta. When you got these big old main lake points and you know there should be a monster bass sitting on that point, well, your walk the dog bait is only in the strike zone for 3 or 4 seconds. Your whopper plopper, blah, 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 even less, right? But your little popper, blink, 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 blink. You can literally leave it in one area and just twitch your rod and barely pop it or pop it kind of hard. And still, every time you pop it, it only moves like an inch. This is the beauty of that thing. It is not meant, a popper or a hula popper is not meant to cover water. It's meant to fish key locations, and it will draw out the biggest bass that are hiding in your dock. And when you throw your Cinco, or you throw your crankbait, or you throw your swinner bait, or you throw your S wave, or you throw your swim bait, whatever, that can draw some monsters. But sometimes those monsters are finicky, like they are when they eat the worm, and you got to be all finicky with the worm, right? And they're not all hitting it hard. You got to dead sticker it or play with it a little to get them. And then it's barely, the bite is super tiny. Same way with top water. So, anyways, the Delta, two ways I'd fish it: go cover water and fish slow, and fish things like crankbait, spinnerbait, swim bait, um, or fish, bottom bouncer. Texas rig Cinco goes through the weeds and grass without getting crap hung on it, because that bullet just goes right through that stuff. So the bullet weight is really what like moves stuff out of the way. And the bullet being shaped like a triangle, nothing wants to get caught on it. When you have a football head, a round head, you have these just spots that weeds can get just caught on that. It's a lot harder to get actual hydrilla, not the slime, not that green slimy shit, but to get actual vegetation on a Texas rig is hard. If you're fishing it right, you can pop it through damn near anything. Wood, you could throw it wherever you want, through grass, through weeds, and your Texas rig Cinco slither right through that crap and get hit every time. So when am I going to the Delta? Ooh, that's a tough question. I'm going fishing for sure Friday, Saturday, and Sunday probably. I don't know where yet. I was thinking about the Delta. I'm about ready to go, but still going to try to do that for you guys. This is going to take some deep water cranks, spinner bait, swim baits, and some top water and an A rig, and then if worst case scenario, a jig. And I want to try to catch something with one of those big fish catching lures and see if we can show you old school Sam. And I'll probably screw around and do it on a spinning rod just to be fun too, because that's how I used to fish like that. So, and I'll make a joke out of it. Not trying to be mean or anything or make fun of anyone who's got high end stuff, because I've got some nice stuff. But I love pointing out the fact that I catch fish on $20, $30 stuff. I don't know, I get a kick out of it. It's fun for me. So, and it also shows other fishermen, hey, you don't, get out there and fish. And then once you get out there and fish, yeah, get the good stuff, because I'll feel pissed if I get a monster bass smashes a swim bait and I'm using a cheap ass rod and reel and I miss him or I dump him. Oh, I'll be super pissed. You bet your bottom dollar I'll be out at the lake the next day with like the most expensive combo, the most expensive lure, you're not getting away from me this time, sucker. You know what I mean? Well, you have to use my credit card to pay for it, but shit, I'm not all the way buried in debt yet. I got a couple more dollars I could spend. Just kidding. But so anyways, that's why, fishing, I love this sport so much. And that's why I'm sure you guys and gals do too. That's why you're here, uh watching these videos, and that's why you're out fishing, because we all have this love for the sport. But I just like to get all pumped up and share my emotions about how important fishing is to me. And we're going to talk about a few fishing stories tonight. So, and anytime you guys, big cold front, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, nice. I'm not scared of a cold front. I know exactly what it'll do. They'll slow popper. Spy bait versus popper. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be super honest with you guys. I don't have very much experience fishing a spy bait, and it's something I'd be very interested in doing. I actually bought one for the first time, a very expensive one, and I want to do it this year. So I would assume a spy bait is when they don't want to come to the top and they're a little bit more suspended, like working it like a jerk bait, and that the popper is probably going to shine more in a calm situation when you're finesse fishing. See, a popper or a popper, you can use them in a little bit of wind helps too, but not if it's real windy. You're not going to throw that kind of top water and that stuff. You need a whopper plopper, double buzz bait to work top water when you got a little chop or waves or stuff like that. But let's just say I pull up to the Delta and I believe I see a big bass on a bed. And I don't know what to throw at. I just got there, but it's real calm and there's like weeds. It's almost like a cove or something, or this bass is sitting in an area and I only have so much room to work it. Then let's take out the popper. We cast it right up next, and then I just work that sucker real slow. That bass will come up poof, and hit that lure. Um, Now spawn, they may not, but like any other time of the year, see a popper is a locational. It's a spot. It's a tool to pick apart a spot. It's not meant for covering water. It's meant for you are pretty damn sure there's got to be fish there, and it's how you draw them out. It's like finesse topwater. And spy bait is kind of similar from what I would understand because I know about them. I've had some fishing with some buddies. I think I might have caught a fish or two on them a long time ago, but I really don't have much memory of fishing with them. I watched some videos, and from what I'm told, they're kind of like it's almost like a soft jerk bait or a jerk bait, but not quite. It's like its own unique thing, and I bought one with the full intent of trying to fish it this year. So I just don't know when to use it. I'm going to have to probably refresh on those videos and get out there and fish. I'll be very honest. If I don't know certain things, I'm going to tell you guys, and then you guys can watch and check these videos out and live streams out as I learn in real time or figure things out. I'm like, well, awesome. Okay, this is right. I'm not going to come across as this like person that's like, I know about all this, because there's plenty of stuff I don't know about. As far as I just don't fish them, like big old swim baits. I don't spend much time fishing them because I do have some fish on them, but it's been my luck, right? There were 2 times in my life I had monster swim bait fish on out of throwing them for a long time, and both of them got me in trees. And one I could see. I had half a heart to go down there and try to swim down there and pull the thing out the tree, but it was a good 12 feet, 10 feet down. And it was pretty crazy. I didn't want to go tangle with a big old bass hooked onto a big old swim bait while I'm underwater. And mind you, this was probably only like 7 years after my car crash. And it took a long time to get over the fear of water to be able to stay underwater for more than about 30 seconds to a minute. Because I can hold my breath underwater for about 2-3 minutes. So when after that car crash, that got shortened to about 10 or 15 seconds. And then I progressed at getting better at holding my breath longer and longer till I'm back about where I was, but I'm an old man now, so not quite. But so yeah, and then the few fish I have caught on them have been like 2.5 pounds. It's been a stressful fight, but I did use them when I was just less educated on fishing. I wasn't as gung-ho, and I probably had I know I had the wrong gear, the wrong line, the wrong poles. So, and then just less knowledge. So I know now where to set up and throw my swim baits more productively, and we'll try that. But you said big cold front coming in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, I'm going to be happy to go put them to the test. I figure usually the first day of the cold front can actually be really good fishing. The fish turn on to eat. And the second, third, fourth, whatever, depends on how long the cold front lasts. Fishing can still be great. It just usually is that slow drag bite. You can't move your lure a lot. You have to kind of barely move it. And they could still be, because if they're setting up for spawn, they could be in a couple feet of water, a foot or two of water, all the way down to probably, I'd guesstimate, 30 to 50 feet. So a little thing about this show is we kind of give like fishing reports or updated information. And being that I'm little YouTuber, right? Not famous or nothing, but I have a lot of friends and people that hit me up and we talk about like what they were catching them on, where they were catching them, if they're, because, some of these guys are pretty cool and open with me. So I'm being told by a couple little birds right now that the fish are in 30 to 50 feet of water. And then at other times, later in the day when it warms up, that they're moving into 10 to 15 feet of water, and they're doing these big drastic shifts. and they're catching numbers, but the bite's still kind of slow. Some guys are getting them on jigs. They're getting them on, shaky heads, jigs, all kinds of bottom bouncing stuff right now. And I've seen some videos and some guys getting some nice swim bait fish and some action. So I think, if you slow roll a spinner bait, deep diving crankbait, or get a square bill, and you get those fish that are in that 10 foot of water range, and your square bill dives to about 6, and you roll it slow enough, they'll come up for it. So, I'm going to go try doing some stuff like that. Look for some structure, some wood, big boulders and rocks right next to a spawning flat, somewhere where a fish would feel safe, just kind of posting up and waiting till it's that moment. So we'll go cover water probably. We'll do a little bit of covering water and fishing slow and trying to catch some nice big pre-spawn fish. And if like halfway through the day that's not working, then I'll probably go pick on them with the drop shot, Ned rig, or a jig. And I know a couple different locations on the lake where the fish are at right now. Just depends what lake you're talking. Are we talking McClure? Are we talking Pedro? Or are we talking New Maloney's? But I got friends that are fishing all three of those lakes that I know where they're catching fish at. And I haven't been to the Motherlode Lakes in about 3 weeks now, 2, 3 weeks, whenever, because this whole last week I was working, and I'm going to be working most of this week. And this weekend I didn't get a chance to fish. We went up to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, so we had a good time out there with the family. And other than that, though, I've been at Millerton and everywhere else, Salt Springs. So it's been almost a month or so since I fished the Motherlode, but I've got, like I said, people who are putting me on them. So if you guys are fishing the Motherlode, those two target ranges are what I'm being told: fishing 30 to 50 and then 10 to 15, and probably shallower. You might want to start in like 1 or 2 and then work to 15. I don't know why. Maybe they're not in that 15 to 30 range. I'm sure they are. This and they're on drop offs off of big spawning flats and islands too, that are about decent depth for spawning in certain areas, and then they're hanging, waiting to pull up, but they're not quite up. They're off back right now, so they're kind of moving up and down, moving up and down. And you might even see beds, but with no fish on them. You might see an occasional bed with some fish on them, because usually I see beds with fish on them right around the end of February, which is today. So I bet you if you cover enough shoreline, you will find some beds with a couple males on them. But they're still kind of doing that dance because the weather hasn't settled yet. The lakes have kind of risen. The lakes are at this weird point right now. So when everything kind of levels out for a second, they'll fully come up. But this is the time, though, the females have got to start really feeding. Pre-spawn's going to be almost basically over. So if they're not on a bed, you can still get them and entice them. It's just, now is the time to do it. The next 2 weeks, I'd say, get out there and I'd fish power fish is what I would be, but doing it slowly. And then, like a big swim bait, you use slowly, right? So a glide bait, spinner baits, crankbaits, but just remember the ticket's going to be slow. So if I'm saying get up there and crankbait, that don't mean get up there, cast your crankbait and just, crank it away. That means get up there and slowly retrieve that. And you probably will do pretty decent. Mark my words, because a lot of guys are probably dangling worms right now. And because a lot of times what one of my biggest flaws is, and I think a lot of mistakes is guys just don't catch the change. So fishing is one way, and then when that pattern switches, they don't realize it switched, and they're still doing what the old pattern was when now the new pattern is something else. Because these fish got to eat like every day. So every other day, right? They don't go very long without eating. I mean, I've seen fish in tanks, bass in tanks, not eat for like a couple weeks, but that's only because they didn't get fed. But usually you put them in there, they eat and they eat and they eat. If there's food in the tank, they eat every day. So if there's no food in the tank, of course they won't eat unless they're sick. I've seen them just eat a couple here and there. Might go a few days without eating, but still, my point is, you got millions of fish in the lakes, and So there's always going to be feeding fish. You just got to find them and know where they're at. So winter, summer, they're usually main lake. Spring and fall, they're usually in the back of coves and creeks and stuff. Of course, during the spawn, they're going to spawn anywhere where they have a nice spawning flat to do it, and you'll have plenty of bass that spawn on main lake too. So they're not all in creeks and coves, but some of the bigger fish will move into those or outlets, near outlets. So like me and my buddy Jeremy, we went to Don Pedro last year in late February, right around this time, and it was one of those where during the daytime you had to drop shot, and we caught them in like 50, 10 to like 30 feet, and we did pretty good. We had a great time. That video, you can go check it out. And my buddy got a 9 pounder by working a wiggle wart in 8 to 10 feet of water real slow, bouncing the wiggle wart off the ground and just barely, and then just boom, because that big mama was waiting to move up and spawn, and this was right off of Blue Oaks right there. So the outlet, the spillway, or not the spillway, but yeah, for when the lake gets too high, not the dam, but the spillway is right there. And the bass, when the lake was high, there was water going in there into the spillway, right? So they'll post up right there as well. So, and they'll be on main lake spots as well, like in Don Pedro, be in Mexican Gulch, and in uh, they'll be in Mexican Gulch and 49er Bay, stuff like that. Well, 49er Bay is off of a creek arm in a bay, but Mexican Gulch is kind of just a gulch off of the main lake right there, you know, right by the dam. So there's a lot of fish there. So right now, if you're fishing Pedro, I'd be fishing up in probably either Big Creek, Woods Creek, or Hatch Creek, one of those three. Rogers Creek probably hold them too. It's the more shallow creek, and there should be water coming in, a little bit of it coming in right there. Those would be the four major arms to check. They say the north arms warm up the quickest, so Woods would probably has the farthest north extending arm. Sorry, not Woods. Big sleep on Mexican Gulch down there. 49er Bay, nice spots. The Boneyard kicks out some smallmouth. Nice fishing out there, but it's got some nice fish in it too. Everybody knows where the Boneyard's at. That's where all the lime rocks are at Pedro. But anyways, I've got another hour here to finish up. I want to talk about some of the crazy stuff I have seen while fishing. So we're going to get one of the craziest stories out of the way now and let you guys know that we were sober, no drug usage, and there was three of us. No, two of us. Sorry, two of us. The other night, the night before, like 2 nights before, we had went three, and we had caught a bunch of fish. So me and my buddy went like a day or two later. We went up to it was Don Pedro, but I'm trying to think. We went in Fleming, and then drove to the marina area where the houseboats are at, where it's like the private houseboat spot. And we walked down that steep, walkway down, and we catfished right there. And we're out facing, into Don Pedro, and the houseboats are in front of us. And it's those houseboats that are between Fleming and the dam right there in that private little section right there. So we were in Fleming, basically, is where we had parked, right, or where we had entered in. And, we're up at the top. We march down there. We're bait fishing. I think we get about an 8 to 10 pound catfish, and then like a 5 to 6 pound catfish. We're having a great time. We're catching fish. We did not want to leave. I think we have caught a few bass because we were doing both. So we had bait out for catfish, and we were bass fishing as well. And then all of a sudden, right, the night is beautiful, beautiful, clear. You see all the stars, millions of them. This was just such a beautiful view. And then all of a sudden, all the hair on your arm, just on my arm and my buddies, but we were fishing because we had our poles out. So if you know this spot, there's a walkway that goes onto this dock where the houseboats are, right? And you can fish on each side of it, right? Well, he was on one side and I was on the other. Where you walk away, there's a gate that open, it's locked for the homeowners, and then the houseboats are on the other side. And this is a cove like this, a big old cove like this. And the walkway is right in the middle. The houseboats are right here. And you have this big old spot right here you can fish, and this big old spot you can fish right here. So we were maybe 50 feet apart from each other. And like I said, just chilling, minding our own business, having a great time. And all of a sudden, all of the hair on my hand stands up. This is all at one moment, too, in a split second. Like, I mean, like that. The hair on the back of my neck, even the hair on my head, it didn't really stand up, but it kind of like poofed out a little bit. And I could feel the fillings because I've had cavities. So I could feel the metal in my teeth. If anyone has ever tried to chew on aluminum foil when you've had a cavity, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was a light feeling like that. Like my cavity started electrifying, right? And everything started like it was just this aura of like an electrical field basically, and it was instant, right? And we didn't look at each other yet because this happened so quick. So as my body's feeling this, my buddy later described, yeah, I felt all this too. And I can tell barely that it started from the right hand side. So like from Moccasin, from up lake, and it had shot across towards the dam. So it was a right to left movement. And just all of a sudden, like a purplish blue beam, just it started on one side of the sky, like up in the stars, like not right up above us, but it looked like it was in the universe, like like it was out there, like past the moon or maybe before the moon, but it was way the hell out there. This wasn't something flying by, right? In Earth's atmosphere. It didn't look like it. And or if it did, I mean, just it was so weird. But it basically started on the right hand side and it shot across, and it looked like a purplish blue straight line, like a laser beam. It had no curvature to it, wasn't lightning. There was no lightning bolts. There was no It was no deviation. And I've never in any form on any video ever seen a perfectly straight lightning bolt. The only time I've seen energy go from one end to another like that is a laser beam, basically, right? And so it just shoots. It's quiet, doesn't make a noise. It just appears on one side of the sky and goes, whew, and then while it's doing that, it's kind of there for a second, and then the tail end catches up to it. That's the best way I could describe it. And this all happened in like a millisecond or maybe like a half a second, like total time. But you could tell, like because it just time seemed to slow down. That it started on the right hand side. It almost appeared across the whole sky instantly, like as if the sky was like an eye that was closed, right? And it had just cracked open like that. But you could tell that it started on one side and went to another, but it was instantaneous. Like when you see a plane fly across, a jet, you could even see a lightning bolt. This thing was so fast, it was almost impossible to track, but we could tell it started one way, went another. Again, this purplish blue beam, and and we looked at each other. I look at my buddy, he looks at me. We're like, what the hell was that? And I'm like, we ended up getting right next to each other and being hella scared. And we thought we were going to be abducted. We thought something was going to happen. We don't know what the hell, but we were like, this is some freaky shit. Like, what was that? We're trying to reason it out. Was it a gamma ray burst? Was it a military test laser fire? Like, there's no way it was lightning. It had no deviation. It was too perfect. There was no way it was anything natural. And so we're like, was it like a craft flying by like the Earth at like light speed, like a warp tunnel or something? Or, we're all trying to reason it out. We're just literally brain farted. And we're just like so shocked by what we see. We pack up and we got the hell out of there. We went home. We were like, we weren't doing any more fishing that night, and we had a blast. We were catching some bass. We already had two big catfish, and there was no way. We had only been there for like an hour or two. It was like midnight. We got there like 10 o'clock at night, and it was like midnight or something, like maybe 1 o'clock, maybe 2, 3 hours. We normally fish from sundown to sunup type thing. So we would not have left for another 5 or 6 hours, easy probably. And so My buddy does not like talking about it because it weirds him out. Like he seriously, he knows, he'll say, "Yeah, I seen something," but he doesn't like to speculate on what it was. He doesn't like to take his mind there. He knows it wasn't natural. He knows it wasn't something like easily explainable. To this day, we had our little conversation about it and we talked about it, but after a while, like he doesn't like talking about it. He's real closed about it. I don't mind. It's the honest to God truth. So crazy. I don't claim to know what it is. I'm not telling you it was a UFO. I'm not telling you it was a gamma ray burst or a beam or a laser. More likely a test fired beam from some kind of hidden military installment way up in the Sierra Nevadas that I just happened to see. I don't know, but I've never seen nothing like it before, never seen nothing like it since. I've looked around on the internet and I haven't even seen a video of anything like what I'm describing. It just simply doesn't exist. And I know I'm not crazy, man. I've seen this shit. So, anyways, that's crazy story number one. It happened while fishing. Crazy story number two, three, and four all could be told at one time in a sense. Basically, mountain lion encounters. I've ran into mountain lions more times fishing than I could care. Some people they nah, it's no, they're rare. Your sighting is rare. You only see it once in a lifetime. Hell no. If you're that walks throughout like the forest and mountains at all hours of the day and night, and you like have no fear because you're not thinking about this stuff, and you're walking literally in the mountains at 3 in the morning, because you're on a lake and there's a big point that goes out real far into the lake, and you're fishing all on this side, and now you want to fish the other side. Are you going to walk a mile and a half around this big ass long giant point, or are you just going to walk over the mountain, right? So that's exactly what me and a buddy did one night, fishing Don Pedro in the back by Solomon Mine, by the slalom course or whatever I think it is. It's back behind. It's almost when you go into like you're going towards Rogers. It's on the left side, across from you. After that big main lake point, it's that little creek arm that goes way back there, and there's houses up there. So we were on one of the when the lake was really high, and so there was this big old long point that came out, and we were trying to fish on the other side of it, and we had marched off like a mile away from our car. We had fished all this shoreline, and we caught fish, had a great time, but we were done fishing this one side and we wanted to fish the other, but this one spot was particularly steep and we didn't want to cross right there, and it was really long around. So we just went over the mountains. Well, me and my buddy get to the very, very top where we're about to start going down like this. And there's a big old, like 4 or 5 oak trees, like growing together where they're literally growing out of the ground like a monster bush on the left. And then there's literally monster bushes on the right. And there's this walkway about 8 feet of clear open grass that just goes right over. And me and my buddy walk in between them, and all of a sudden, out of the bush on the left, I believe it was either, yeah, it was the bush on the left, the bigger one. You hear the craziest scream, and you can hear the mountain lion coming at us, going like you can hear the paws hitting the dirt, and like the mountain lion hitting the brush. And it was crazy. It was lasted a split second, and me and my buddy started yelling, "Hey!" And we got all big and we backed up and we walked backwards, scared shitless. Couldn't see nothing, couldn't see the mountain lion, but it screamed. It was loud. It wasn't a bobcat. This thing sounded huge, and it screamed at us. And we could hear, I think we could hear like mewlings or the babies or something. So I think it was a mama mountain lion with some babies or some what would you say, younglings, because it was that perfect time of year after when they mate, and usually when they'd have the little cubs running around. And we didn't understand all this crap. And so we walked backwards thinking at any moment we're about to get ate. We got our fishing pole, tackle box, got a backpack on, and I had the backpack off like a shield. I had slung it off my back, put it on my right arm like a shield, had the fishing pole, was crazy eyed. We're backing backwards, just kind of yelling and making noise. And as soon as we started yelling and making noise, the mountain lion stopped. Like we could hear it coming at us, and then just stopped, and it froze. And we just kept going backwards, making all this noise, and didn't hear us. Like that thing was a ninja. We didn't hear it go back. We didn't hear it come towards us. We just like knew it had stopped, and we kept moving and kept moving. And when we got to the other side down there and fished, this mountain lion wasn't but maybe a quarter mile up ahead. Like it was still up there. And so we're fishing, looking like this, fishing, looking like this, fishing. And it was like a really nice full moon out. You could see almost like daylight almost. But it was so crazy, we couldn't see the mountain lion because it was inside of this monster bush. And all you can see was the bush shaking, and you can hear pop, 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 as like it was probably inside it or towards the back, and it was coming into, out of it at us. And we started yelling. And it may not have even been a full moon, but I remember it was pretty damn bright, like 3/4 to a full. Like there was a lot of moonlight. And I remember being able to look back up at the mountain where this mountain lion was at, and seeing those two big bushes and the opening, and just constantly focusing on that spot while fishing. It was the most craziest thing ever. And then we had to go back by it to go back to get to our spot. And so we decided we're not walking nowhere near that thing, because we knew that's probably where she had the cubs set up, and we knew it was probably a mother. We had discussed it. We were like, what do you want to do? You want to call for help? Do you want to go this way or that way? So what we did is we took a big old circumventing path. Or it took us like an extra hour probably, the walk time. It was nuts. So that was my first encounter with a mountain lion, or one of them. Another one, I don't want to get too much into the story, but me and my buddies were fishing into the certain why we were there, but we were fishing the Stanislaus. So if you guys know Don Pedro, and you know LaGrange right there, and you know when you drive over the bridge, there's that river right there. So we were fishing right there, and there's all these ponds and little spots where you can like crawl under bushes and holes and find these little like ponds and creeks, and there'll be fish all in them, little offshoots off the river. We're fishing the river, fishing all of those, and we were heading down. Well, the river turns. There's all this foresty stuff and like bramble, and then it opens, and there's like a big barn and a cow pasture out there, kind of, or like like abandoned house. There's nobody living there, at least then there wasn't. And we kept going, and then there would be sparse, and then like open field and sparse trees. And then, well, when I say sparse, it was kind of thick, but I mean big openings in between them. And me and two other buddies were marching through this area where you could kind of like, it was a game trail, and we came right around the corner, bloop, and I'm in the lead, and my two guys that are my brother and my buddy Jake are right behind me. And we turn this cut in the game trail, and it opens up into like a clearing, and there's the biggest mountain lion I ever seen in my life to this day, even in a zoo. Big ass mountain lion. I thought it was a cow, and I wasn't even worried. I wasn't even stressed. I was like, do. I took 2 or 3 steps, and the cow swiveled its head and looked at me. And it took about a half a second, and that light bulb clicked. What? So, hey, Gerbs, nice to see you on tonight. So, I turned, the cow turns its head and looks at me. I'm like, that ain't no freaking cow. And you can see the mountain lion's tail, right? Big old furry cat tail. The big body, it was kind of scrawny, and it had like these haunches, right? You could see the shoulder blades on the front, on the side, and then you could see like the hips. And the way it looked, it kind of just looked like a giant skinny cow. And when it turned and its head looked at me, and you just see this monster cat, you're just like, oh, I just backed up like this, and I go, back up, back up. And then my brother bumped into me first, boom. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? Keep going forward. And I'm all, back up. It's a freaking mountain lion. And then my buddy Jake bumps into him. Woo, it was like a Three Stooge moment. And I'm just like, oh, shit. And this thing's just sitting there looking at us like, what are you fools doing? And we just back out of view. And as soon as the bush goes like that, and I can't see the mountain lion, it can't see me anymore. I turn around, I go, "There's a freaking huge mountain lion right there." I go, "Let's go, let's go!" And it was my brother or Jake. They didn't believe me. They poked their head around, they go, and then come back, and then we all started kind of running backwards the way we had came, but we were keeping an eye because we didn't want to make a bunch of noise and make it obviously that we were running, but we were very quick to get the hell out of there. And that one was funny because the mountain lion didn't care about us one bit. It was so weird. Usually they get scared, they'll run away, or they might attack you or come at you. But this thing just looked indifferent. Looked like he was stoned. Like he didn't want nothing to do with nobody. Like he maybe an old mountain lion coming down to die or something. Like he would just chill. Either that or maybe he was eyeing the cow. There was like a pasture over there. That's why I thought it was a cow. But this thing didn't want nothing to do with us. It was so crazy. So that's another one we ran into a mountain lion. Now at McClure, down by Barrett's, this one I have a witness for. It was me and my son and my other buddy, and we're out. I actually have witnesses for all three of them. There's one where I don't. Well, actually, no, I had a witness there too. So, and actually, the same buddy's been witness to three of them, I think. Yeah, three of them. And so that's Jeremy. He's seen them with me. It's crazy. So the other one we're at Lake McClure at Barrett's Cove, and we're at that big point, and the water's up kind of high. Barrett's Cove's right there's a big rocky point, and then the shore goes like this, and it kind of curves out, and then there's another point. There's all these rocks and boulders, right? And it's real steep. Well, the sun's starting to set, and me and Jeremy walk ahead. So my son is bottom bouncing or crawdad, maybe bait fishing. I don't remember, but he's sitting on that point because that's where we get a lot of our big fish. So he was just comfortable sitting there chilling, and he would move around a little bit, maybe cast over here, cast over there. So we were fishing, and we would start covering water. And next thing you know, we're a good 30 yards away from him when I hear a rock fall, right? And it comes falling down from up above. And I look, and in the silhouette where you look up at the McClure and you see that trail that's right there, there's a trail that you can walk, and then there's trees, and we can see the grass line, right? The grass was about this tall at that time, wasn't too tall. And you could see occasional tree trunk, right? And then the nice orange setting sun silhouette was right behind it. And you could just see this huge mountain lion just slinking alongside the top. And then it stopped right when it was in line with my son and started coming right down the mountain. And I flipped out. I lost my shit. I started picking up rocks and I started screaming. I told my son to slowly make his way to me. I started making my way towards him, and I started just chucking rocks at this thing. But the thing is it blended in very well. Once it came down the mountain, I could barely make it out. And the sun's just dropping, and this place is getting darker and darker and darker. And I'm throwing rocks at this thing, and I hear and I see it stop, and it freezes. And I kind of lose track at it at that moment, and I start closing in on my son, and then I see it move again, and it comes down a little more. I start throwing rocks at it, and I start flipping out just more. I start going ape shit. Like I was worried he was going to eat my son right in front of me. And so we keep throwing rocks at it. My buddy realizes what's going on. He's yelling at it, and then just it disappears. You don't hear it. You don't see it. I didn't see it run away. And we get our stuff, and we get all huddled together, and it's the three of us. And we look up, and now the sun's setting, but it's still kind of orange, beautiful sky, but it's starting to get dark. You could see the fucker's eyes. You could see him up there just looking at us. And we were like, oh shit. And then it just disappeared. It's gone. And we went the long way. We walked all the way back the long way towards the actual docks and the ramps and all that, and then walked up to our car, and we left after that. We didn't stay any longer. We took off. We were done. And that was the scariest mountain lion encounter I've ever had. This other one was scary, but not quite. It's almost funny. So, and believe it or not, I have had one more. So, same spot. Same freaking spot. We're at Barrett's Cove, and this is years earlier. So this is before my son, before I was married, probably when I was like 20 or something like that, 23, 21, I don't remember. And we're driving up there, or it was a white car. So it was either when I was 19 or 20, it was my Daewoo, or it was when I was married, and it was my Ford Focus. But I wouldn't have had my son with me. So me and Jeremy are back up at Lake McClure, our favorite place to fish, right? And we're back at that same spot because my buddy's gotten a double digit there, and we've caught a lot of big fish right there. And we my buddy always complains. He always complains because I have the heater so damn hot. When we go up in the wintertime, we'll have jackets, I'll have the heater blaring. And and he complained it was super hot. So I rolled the window down to let the car cool off. We pull up and we get out and we grab all our stuff, and I close the door, forgetting to roll the window back up. We go down and we fish Barrett's Cove, and we're there probably 3 or 4 hours, just super cold, right? We're there 3 or 4 hours, maybe. I think we catch maybe a fish or two, and time to go home. So we walk all the way back up. We get to the car, and he approaches the passenger side, and we're walking together, right? And he doesn't have his door yet. As he's about to reach his door, I grab mine and I open the door. And as I open the door, the inside light comes on, and out comes a juvenile mountain lion, slams the door into me. The mountain lion hits me like a freaking linebacker and sends me flying back. Hits me hard, but no claws, no teeth, nothing. It just rams me like it was scared. We caught it off guard. It was sleeping in the freaking driver's seat, left hair behind and everything, yellow hair. It was crazy, like yellowish and brown hair and all that, and white hair. There was like all this hair in my seat, and it was big. It was probably a lot bigger than a golden retriever, but like not it wasn't a full grown. It was definitely a juvenile. It was a smaller one. It wasn't a bobcat. It was way bigger than a bobcat. And the thing smashed the door open and pushed me and the door just right out the way, hit and did a straight turn. And I turned the lights on, right in my car, reach in, and I turned the headlights on. And the time that it took me to reach my hand, this thing scampered super fast. But my headlights go on, and you can see the tail and the ass end of the cat just hauling balls out of there. I think we scared it more than it scared us. So, but he was in our car trying to stay warm. It was the craziest shit ever, man. A mountain lion sitting in the car. I'm telling you, these are real deal stories, man. I've been through some funny shit. I've seen some crazy stuff. So that's some of the craziest stuff I've seen while fishing. The car crash, the 120-mile-an-hour car crash, where we flipped upside down. We were trapped underwater. My friend was trapped under there for 10 minutes. I was probably underwater for about a minute and a half. My buddy Jay was probably underwater for like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And Jake was underwater for about 2 minutes. And we were worried he wasn't going to come up. But Bobby, he didn't ever come up. It took me 10 minutes, and I'm not trying to down my friends one bit, but we had such horrible PTSD that we just couldn't go underwater to save him. And eventually, I mean, it didn't take too long, but eventually I manned up and did it. And it still took like probably, I would say the whole ordeal of dealing with the PTSD for me and trying, I think I gave it one failed attempt or maybe two failed attempts where you went underwater in a second. It was literally within a second or two when you dunked your head under the water, all those emotions and fear came back, and you couldn't. I don't care. Your wife, your kids, you just couldn't. You couldn't put yourself, you just felt you were going to die. Like, I can't do that again. And then I collect myself and I tried it again. And I think it was two failed attempts. And all my buddies, they tried too, but I swear to God, it was the craziest thing. 3 grown men couldn't put our faces in the water because we were so shell shocked and flipped out. We had PTSD. And I swear to God, it took me only about 30 seconds. I overcame it. I said, to hell with that. I am not letting my friend drown in this damn car today. Hell no, I'm not going to go out like a punk like that and not rescue my friend. So I just manned up and held my breath, and I pulled them out body part by body part, essentially, because the problem is I had an old car that had roll up windows. It wasn't electric, but also the window in the back seat is childproof. So you make the window this big, but it only rolls down like this much. And so I I tried to open the door and the door wouldn't open. I'm trying to bang it open, get open. I'm reaching up in there and I find the door handle and I pull it and the door just won't open. I don't know. I had the same problem getting out. When I try to get out, first of all, you're upside down, you're underwater. And when you crash, it's like being punched in the chest. All your air goes out. And then the water came in instantly for us. It wasn't like the movie where it was dripping in or it filled up like this, even quickly. No, it was the window blew in at us when we hit the window, the whole, because we went 120 miles an hour. So when we hit the rock and flipped, the whole car crumpled and the windshield exploded. So when we were flying in midair, there was no windshield. It was blown in like this. And so we flipped, and when we hit the water instantly came in. So you didn't even have a chance to go. It was basically and then you're under, right? There was no preparation, no breath holding, nothing. It was frightening. And then you're upside down. It takes a second to realize, holy shit, like, well, I released my belt. First of all, you're feeling around like where you're flipped out in your mind. You don't even know if you're still alive, or like, am I cut in half? Is my leg cut off? Am I like, what, am I missing body parts? Am I like broken and like busted? Like, literally, this is a millisecond after hitting going 120. You don't know what kind of damage you're in. And when the car was upside down, all this purple fluid came in instantly. So I thought someone had been like decapitated or like mushed. Like, and if it could have been me, and I was just having all this adrenaline. It could have been one of my friends, but I just seen what I assumed like a Jaws movie was just all this blood, but it was actually the transmission fluid. And it was nasty. It was just all this pinkish red fluid just got in my face, and then I'm feeling myself that I'm still like alive. Holy shit. And then I'm realizing I'm in a car upside down underwater, but I'm still alive. And I clicked my belt, and then it's the weirdest feeling when you click your belt and you're upside down. Your body just, it doesn't, you're like, what, you think this is up, but it's really down, and you're all confused. And then I'm going to get my door, my windows rolled halfway down, but it's full. I could try to roll it up, but it won't, right? It's stuck, nothing will work. And I go for my door handle, and I open it, and my door goes like this, and it opens about 8 inches or 6 inches. It goes and it stops, and I close it and I open it again, and it stops, and I slammed it and it stopped, and I left it like that, and I just was flipped out. And in this moment, what went through my mind, this is the God honest truth, was how do I survive this? And then these thoughts went through my mind this fast. I swear to God, it was: do I try to go through the back seat and make it out one of the back doors, because someone's hopefully gotten out the car, because I was getting kicked in the face by the dude in the passenger seat. I could feel his feet kicking me and hitting me. And so I knew he was in there, and all of a sudden he was gone, right? And I'm feeling he's not there. So I'm like, do I try to go out of his door, his window? Do I go in the back seat and go out? Like, what do I do? My door is not working. So I just flipped out enraged, and I grabbed the steering wheel. I tucked myself into a tiny little ball, and I put my feet up against the side of the passenger seat, and I put my body up against the door, and I just straightened myself out and bent the door out like this. Turns out the car was laying on its roof, and when I opened the door up, there was a big rock right here, and the rock was preventing the door from opening, and it was a big one. So I literally had to bend the door. I had to bend it and literally He-Man my way out, like how you hear about like a mother lifting a car off of their baby or something. I did that, and I got out. And then when I made it up, then I had to get my buddy, right? So after the PTSD, when I'm going in, I reached in, and I couldn't feel him. So I'm looking upwards, right? I'm feeling in like this, like, where's he at? Then I'm feeling down. Where's he at? All of a sudden I feel him. He's in, where your legs go, in that tiny little spot between the back seat of the car. He's like smashed in a ball somehow down there. So I reached in there and I grab him and I yank him up and I could feel him and I kind of feel him straightening out. Like I pull him and I could feel his body like do that. And then I grab his arms and I start pulling him out the window. And then I get to his head, boom, and it hits the window. I'm like, oh shit, sorry, Bobby. I mean, I was a little vicious getting you out, but I got you out. So, well, he's not here anymore. He committed suicide a couple years ago. But I had to kind of turn his head a little bit and I got him and I pulled him and I got his shoulders out. And this whole time I had to dive under, work for about 30 seconds, pop up, take a breath, dive under, mess with them, pull on him, come up, and I did all that. And then finally I get him to his hips and his hands are floating up to the top of the water like this, and his hair is coming up, but I can't get him. And it was just so frustrating. And I just popped him. Finally, I got him free, bloop, and got him up and pulled him out of the water. We dragged him to the shore, and I had given everything I had. I had no more. I just literally fell out almost dead at that point. I had exerted everything to escape and then everything to get him out. And thank God at that time, someone had actually seen us crash, and they had called the fire department, the police, and all that. And he came running in and helped drag my friend out of the water and onto the ground. And then I dragged my way out the canal. My buddies drag our way out. And we're just sitting there all kind of shell-shocked for a second. And you see the fire truck run up. And the fireman sees us all in shock. And he goes, does anybody know first aid? And I knew, I knew first aid. And he threw me, he grabs in his little pouch and he grabbed an air, the squeezer with the little face mask. And he throws it to me and he goes, you do breathing, I'll do chest compressions. And we just went to it. And the next thing I know, he starts throwing up in the mask, and we take the mask off and dump it out. And the fireman rolls him to the side and he throws up a bunch of water, and then he immediately rolls back over and then re-dies. Like his heart stopped again. He stopped breathing. So we did it some more and we got him to do the same thing. And then this time he threw up a ton of water. And I think that was like the last of the water, right? And he sits up like a ghost and he just stares like this right through us, like we weren't there. And he's like, and then he just, boom, he falls out and he dies again. And at that moment, we're still doing our thing. So the fireman's doing chest compressions, I'm doing breaths. And then the airlift comes in, lands in right there, drops in, and they get him. And they're like, no pulse, no pulse. They're hooking up the thing and they're like doing chest compressions. They put him on the thing. I watch them pulling out the defibrillator and they load him up into the helicopter. He's dead. Turns out on the way to the hospital, they had brought him back to life 3 times and he had died again. Brought back, died. Bro. And then he gets to the hospital. They get him intubated and he's in a coma for like 2 days, I think, a day or two. And then he just wakes up, rips all the breathing tubes out, because he didn't know, like he had no memory. So next thing he knows, he's 1 minute he's just living, doing his life. The next moment he has is he's waking up in a hospital with tubes down his throat. And so he just was freaked out. He ripped him out and he tried to walk out of the hospital naked in his hospital gown with his ass cheeks hanging out. And no brain damage, over 10 minutes underwater. And no brain damage. And at the end of the day, none of us really had a scratch. 120 mile an hour car crash, 10 minutes underwater for one person. The other 3 of us, different amounts of time underwater, but also just 120 mile an hour car crash. And we didn't die. We didn't get hurt. No broken bones, no broken arms, no backbones, no concussions that we knew of. It was crazy. So, and we were fishing. How this all happened is we were out at Los Banos fishing. We were out at the Los Banos Reservoir fishing and coming out back being dumbasses. Some of you guys know the whole story, but we'll leave it at that. We'll save that for another day. So fishing has just been such crazy, fun experiences, being out fishing, experiencing the crazy stuff that I've seen and been through. I think I got one more story. I don't think I told you guys yet. I know I've told some of you guys, but on tonight's little podcast, I don't think I told you guys about the night. Yeah, I was woken up by a murder. So some of the craziest stuff's happened to me fishing, obviously. But again, we were young, dumb, just fishing all the time, and also just like shore fishing instead of in a boat, or and fishing a lot at night, and just being in crazy places. So um, don't expect to have this happen to you fishing. Probably it might not happen, but I'm sure you'll have your own adventures and stories. That's a great thing. But I'll tell you guys this one last story here, and then we'll get out. If you guys have any questions, any tips or tricks, or you guys want to talk about any other particular fishing stuff, we'll definitely be glad to do that. I just wanted to do one weird one tonight, see how you guys like it, tell you these are all true stories. Tell you again, started out with a little bit about me, some of the crazy crap I've been through, how fishing has helped turn my life around, how it's kept me out of trouble, how it's kept me sane, how it's been great for my mental health, my health, and just such a great thing in general, which is why I love it so much and I push it. Why I'm so open and free about my fishing, but I'm also open and free about my life experiences because you know there's a lot of people that have been through much worse than me, but there's also people that go through things and may feel they don't have nobody to talk to, may feel alone, and I want you guys to know that fishing is a great way to cathartically deal with life's problems, but at the same time in generally too, I'm always here for you. You can always reach out through the comments on the channel. You can reach out through Facebook or Instagram. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here for you. For anybody ever thinking about taking their own life, or doing dumb stuff, self-deleting, so to speak, um, remember that you're loved and that people care, and I would never want to see nobody, even people I hate, so to speak, or my enemies, right? Would never want to see someone do that. So for anybody out there, I'm here for you if you ever need someone to talk to. But that's how I feel about fishing, is that it's such an important uh, aspect of my life, and I think it would be great if it was a part of almost everybody's. Now, maybe it's not, fishing's not for everybody, but the outdoors, doing stuff, so important for our mental health. And so, yeah, that's why I wanted to share these stories with you guys. Plus, I get on here and every week, Monday through Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we talk fishing, 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 which is great, but I wanted to do a little spin, a little something different. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about it. And maybe every once in a while we could sprinkle in some different topics, talk about different stuff. I pretty much want to plan to keep this channel solely fishing related. All the stories are fishing related, pretty much. So, um, but I don't know. We'll see if you guys like this. So either way, just wanted to do something different tonight. And we're going to end tonight with one last crazy story. And this is going to be about the Stainer, the Stainer murderer. He killed, I think, what was it, 3 or 4 people or something like that. The girls, and then the people up at the resort or cabin area, I believe, up there. And the part of the story I'm involved with is with the girls. And so I didn't know about the other people, or if he did have other people. I'm pretty sure he did. Sorry, this is coming from memory. But me, Jeremy, Jay, bunch of other guys, and some friends, we were all camping out at, we were in Hatch Creek. We were camping at Hatch Creek on a private road. And um, we were partying, having a great time. We had a big old bonfire, drinking beers. We had girls, we had alcohol, we had smoke, we had everything you could imagine. We were having a great old time. Lights went out, everybody's asleep, and I've always had a bladder, man. I got to go pee like all the time, right? So I'm up at probably 3, 4 in the morning, something like that. I don't remember what time it was. Might have been 2 o'clock. I have no clue. I did not watch. But I get up to take a pee in the tent because everything's kind of slanted. Didn't want the pee coming downhill on everybody. So I wandered off just a little bit. And then I go pee. And as I'm peeing, I hear some noise. And I notice there's a car right there, and I think I see the car door open. You can see the dome light come on. Dude's being real quiet, but he's sitting in his car and he's getting out of his car. And I think he walked around from the driver's side around to the passenger side. He opened up the trunk, and I don't know why I didn't register it at this time, but there were two rolled up looking things or something in the back seat, and it was dark. I couldn't make out what they were. And I swear, I want to say he was getting like a shovel or getting something. He was getting a weapon or a shovel or something out, and it leaned up against the sleep, groggy. Didn't put two and two together, but all I know is I'm peeing, and I'm already going, and this dude like could see my pecker dang there, so I'm like, I better like put, I lean to the side, and then I like when I'm done, I make some coughing noises so he knows, like, hey, I was there peeing, hopefully, you didn't see me, or kind of a courtesy of like, hey, I know you're there type of thing. So, and then he looks at me kind of like freaks out for a second and he stares at me. And then I can, in hindsight, I know what he was doing is he was looking, because to me he was just looking in my direction, but when I look back I remember his head kind of panning a little bit. He was looking at the tent, he was looking at the fact that we had two cars there, and he looked at me. I think he was sizing me up, and he was quiet. It was two and two together, like all hungover, drunk, and something like that. Party night, and but it was weird. He was silent for like a good 5 seconds or so or more, just staring at me. And then all of a sudden, like a light bulb went on. He asked me, he goes, "Excuse me." And I go, "Yeah." And then I start walking towards him. He starts walking towards me all of a sudden. Like he didn't want me getting near his car. And he closes his door, so all the lights go off in a second. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, "Ah." He's like, "Excuse me." And he goes, "You guys out here camping?" I go, "Yeah, me and some friends, blah, blah, blah. Had a good old time." And he goes, "Well, I was hoping you could help me." And he asked me to moccasin point. And then he had another question about somewhere off of the 120 or the 132. And I'm horrible with directions, or at least I was bad then. So I go wake up my buddy Jeremy and I go, "Hey, there's this guy, he wanted to get directions to whatever." And my buddy is like, "Oh, okay." Because he knew those mountains like the back of his hand, right? So I go, "I'll go get my friend." He goes, "Okay." And he stands right outside of the camp, right? And I go and I get Jeremy, wake him up, and we go up to the over, and Jeremy's all like, "Blah, blah, go this way, blah, 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 make that way, blah, blah." He's giving them instructions. The guy's all, okay. He goes, "Thank you guys very much." And we're like, "All right, my man." And then we're just sitting there, and we go, and I remember we get open the ice chest, crack another beer. Now that we're awake, we're like, "Oh, what the hell was that about?" We're drinking our beer. Dude gets in his car, takes off. And then like a couple days later or whatever it was, we end up seeing the news, a news story that they had found two girls, their bodies dumped, and they found the guy. They had caught the guy that had did it by then, and they showed a description. We were just freaked out, and so we called the FBI or the police. They put us in touch. We told the FBI our story, came and talked to us and thanked us, and that was the end of that. And crazy. And when you think about like, damn, that could have gone a whole different way, but I guess it didn't. Life has its way of working out. But I'm telling you, I've seen some weird shit fishing, man. I have plenty of other stories too. Probably not as wild and as crazy as those ones, but yeah, I've had some fun times and some scary times fishing. I could tell you about some parties. I remember one last fun. We'll end with a fun story. Um, at the at my buddy's birthday party, we end up having his party at the same place that the mountain lion yelled at us. Back over there, we used to call it the mine shaft. It's Solomon's Mine, kind of in towards Rogers Creek. I think you go off like Arbolada or something like that. There's one of those Zarzamore, no, one of the damn roads you can take, and then you have to drive in on a dirt road, and then you park near a barbed wire fence, and you can walk right down to the lake. They built a bunch of houses in that area now, but this was when you could do that. And all the guys from Don Pedro, we know Cody, we knew a bunch of other dudes from over there, Yolanda, Mandy, a bunch of chicks, Lisa, and all of them. And we used to party with them a lot. And they all the Don Pedro, high schoolers and troublemakers and stuff. They always had their kegs and parties up there. So we ended up bringing up a keg or two, a keg, I think it was one keg or two kegs, bunch of people, and a gang of like just man, just yeah, we had a great time. So we that night, Germ on a spinner bait, and so we kept hearing all the splashing and noise, huge fish, and we got excited. We chased them all night long. I got tired. We knew they were fish. It's not ducks. We were throwing all kinds of stuff at them. And I usually throw the spinner bait. Jeremy usually throws a crankbait. But this particular night, I happened to be throwing the crankbait. Jeremy happened to be throwing the spinner bait. And I snag into, or I get this fish on the crankbait, and I think it's the biggest bass of my life, a double-digit monster for sure. And oh my God, it puts up this huge fight. And we get it all the way into shore, and we see that it's a carp, and it's foul hooked, and it's like 15 pounds. So we land it, we get it off the hook. I'm excited to catch a big fish, but I'm pissed off. It's a carp. I'm done. I'm going to bed now. I'm hungover already. I'm awake, hungover. I'm drunk, and we've been partying all night. And I was like, I'm done with this. I was like, these are carp, and we were fishing in a cove kind of, and where I caught the carp was right in the middle of it. And Jeremy, after we had got him off, had started to keep fishing and chasing these fish. And I was like, what are you doing, fool? They're just a bunch of carp. He goes, oh, those are gotta be bass, the way they're busting. No, you just snagged a carp. And I'm like, whatever. And I started walking back to camp. And shit you not, as soon as I turn around and I start walking away, I get about 5 steps. I got one. And he's using a spinner bait. So I'm like, no. And next thing you know, you hear this huge whoosh, whoosh. You just see these huge cannonball explosions. You can see the mouth is just like, whoa. Gets it in is a 12.5 pound bass. And we take it back to camp to show everybody, what he does. I'm not going to let him much more known than that, but this is in the days when we didn't have cell phones. So suffice to say that 12.5 pounder did not live, because there's no way some little punk ass kids like us was going to catch a fish that big and not weigh it and get some pictures with it. So that fish went back to camp, and let's just leave it at that. I did not say to do it. It wasn't my call. It wasn't my choice. No, I wouldn't have done it, but I can understand why he did. And we were, again, don't be mad at us. He was only like 18, 19 years old. But so we take it back to camp, big old giant, right? Oh, wake everybody up. And then the party just seemed to like start all over again. Next thing you know, we're getting hammered more. And I guess I don't know how, but we just all ended up butt naked on a giant tree, skinny dipping out in the lake. And I'm talking like 5 or 6 dudes, like 5 or 6 chicks. We're all like human Christmas ornaments in this old tree. And we put way too many people in this tree. Next thing you know, the damn thing snaps in half and we all go flying into the water. Nobody got hurt, but we thought it was the funniest shit ever. We're all laughing. I'm sure people got scraped up, but we were just, man, we had a grand old time. So the stuff you do when you're kids, you're only young once, you only live once, you got to have a good time. But fishing has been some of the best memories that I could remember, other than special times with my family. And, I love to share that love, and I love to share the knowledge that'll help put other people on fish. So if you made it this far through tonight's rambling live stream, thank you very much. I noticed it seemed like the conversation on your guys' end seemed to stop. So those of you here are probably just listening to me at this point. I hope you had a great time, got some entertainment out of tonight. I know I didn't drop a lot of like fishing truth bombs on you and give you the best fishing information tonight, but hey, I'll be back on Wednesday, and I'll also be back on Friday unless I don't make it off the lake in time. And I've got some buddies coming down, so I'm going to be doing a lot of fishing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I probably will be at the Delta and New Maloney's. It would be the places I'd assume you could find me. And we'll just see how it goes. Yeah, maybe even Salt Springs. But we're going to go on a little fishing spree for a couple of days, and we'll be reporting back to you guys with the results, let you know what we caught them on. I'll be videotaping it all, so we're going to have some awesome videos out. This whole week, I have a string of videos pre-released to come out. I've got a Salt Springs Valley tournament fishing trip. I've got another fishing trip where I get skunked, but my partner doesn't. So I don't always put them out there when I win. Sometimes you lose and you don't do the greatest. But I've got 3 more videos that should be hitting soon. And then obviously after this weekend, I'll probably have 3 more. So this next couple weeks, we're going to have a lot of great content coming out for you guys to enjoy and watch. I'll be having some great fishing tips and tricks for this spawn. So stay tuned. We're going to have a great time. Now, I'm done telling you guys my stories for the night. So if there's any questions, any things you guys want to talk about, the floor is yours for the next 5, 10, 15 minutes. And I appreciate you guys and gals very much. Don't forget, if you're still hanging out, smash that like button. Share the video if you guys can. Social media helps. I've been grounded from Facebook for saying bad, mean things because this politician went off on somebody and was acting like a high-level, non-Democrat, Republican stuff. Like rich, snooty guy got pulled over in a car for speeding and like not following all these rules. And then he started pulling that, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm going to call you a suit. Oh, I hate people like that. So, even if you're powerful like that, you don't throw it around. That's just a disgusting person. Even if you have the power to get yourself out of tickets, do it correctly, man. Take the ticket, smile, let the officer have a good day, whatever, and then call the supervisor or your hookup, right, and get yourself off. Don't be an asshole to the person, especially when they're recording on cam or badge cam. They're just going to put you on the internet and make you look stupid. So I ended up saying something mean about this guy, and yeah, I got canned from Facebook for 24 hours. So screw it. You only live once. All right. I like bananas. I'm going to read your guys' comments now because I couldn't even see. So we had Ronald pop on earlier. RC, trying to can fish too much. Good morning or good evening. Good morning. Good night. Hey, everybody. Have a great show tonight. No, that was me. There's Charles Chalk. Howdy, folks. Damn, I thought my payment went through. RC, no worries. Looks good from here. Sounds good. Video is clear. RC might be expired card. What's the cooler talk? Any chitter chatter on the bite? Hey, y'all. Are you superstitious like bananas, right? The thing about sports is there's one ball in the game. We play. It takes 2 balls. Plus, in sports, second place is just the first loser. You can't be happy with second place in sports. Well, you can, buddy, if you're playing it to have fun. So if you're playing it to have fun, half of the enjoyment is just to play, man. But yeah, we do want to win, right? Especially if you're getting paid. So when it's like NFL, NBA, you better win. But when it's for fun, you want to make sure you don't take the fun out of it. So how come the YouTube guys who fish tournaments get smashed never post it? Oh, I do all the time. Gilroy, California, Pantera, yeah. Hey, Paul Leal, nice to see you on. And then we had Mike Dozier, nice to see you on. And No Limits obviously been on, so great. James Sanchez, you think Kelsey will ever come back around? I seen it. Kevin, one thing about life is you always have the next day to get it right. That's right. Karen and Kevin, there you go. It's going to be a holding pond for irrigation, was bought out by a dairyman. Yep. That's what I was. Silvera knows what's up. Appreciate your brother, too, very much. So thanks for real brother, Bass and CFO, James Sanchez. That's the only way to be. I appreciate your guys' support. They should have let people go out and get the big ones out. Such a waste. Yeah, they should have. That would have been nice. Silvera's knows what's up. He's a good dude, too. I appreciate your support. For real, we used to smash some big ones out there. Yep, James Sanchez knows what's up. Looks like Pope Edwards is a troll or a bot. Gotta watch out for them bots. I say we do a night mission. I don't want to say anything, but I already know someone who has. What's up, Sam? I'm gonna hit the Delta. Yeah, we talked about this. Mad Bassin, mountain lions, right? Yeah, we went over that. You're good. All right. Start a 1-800 number bass tip line. So I'm reading your guys' comments because I went off on a earlier just talking about stuff. Oh, you want to see a whiteboard breakdown of Pedro? I'd be more than happy to do that. I should do that again, huh? We do a whiteboard breakdown on why. So we'll draw Pedro out and show it on a map, and then show you guys what's truly the northernmost arm. Because when you think north, you probably think Moccasin Point. You might think woods. But if you look on a map, Pedro's kind of tilted like this, with Moccasin being more east. However, the most northern creek arm on that is Big Creek. And 49er Bay and Big Creek should be, where they're at right now in Pedro, or at least on the main lake points right there, going into 49er Bay and going into Big Creek, and then holding on trees that are in Big Creek especially. You're going to find some good largemouth back there. Yeah, I'd be glad, Mike, to do a whiteboard breakdown of Pedro for sure. I need to probably do that. We'll do Pedro, we'll do McClure, and we'll do New Maloney's. Tulic we can probably do and include it with New Maloney's, make it like a bonus feature. So we'll do New Maloney's and Tulic at the same time, and then we'll break it down. Right now, you guys should be throwing topwater. Please believe it. Topwater is already on hit. Don't wait. You're going to miss it. Don't sleep on the big mamas that are hitting the topwater. Just fish slow. They should also be. Ryan Cook took those two Asian dudes out, like a 6 and a 7 or a 7 and an 8 on an S waiver. That was awesome, dude. Those are big pre-spawn bass that are stocking up. So you should be able to use some bigger baits, but also one of the lures that just gets overlooked, that's just a killer at catching big fish and can catch numbers, is a good old spinner bait. So for those of you who aren't really up to wanting to throw a big swim bait, maybe try a deep diving or medium diving crankbait, or try a spinner bait. But just this time of year, I would roll it real slow, not too fast. They're just not there yet. So that picks up when the water temperature really picks up. But you'd be surprised what you could get on topwater right now. Please believe it. I've already got a buddy. You guys go check out his channel, Pop's World. He was fishing the San Joaquin River where the water temperatures are much colder than our lakes, and he smoked like a 5-pound largemouth on a Zara spook, or a spook, the big spook. And just a good old walk the dog bait. Got smashed. Looked like it was fun. That bite was super loud. I watched that video. Great. And I tell everybody, this time of year, I got a 6+ pound spotted bass out of New Maloney's on a double whopper plopper, the kind that was like a buzz bait, and right out of the trees. And so the monsters, and then at Pedro, this same time of year, I was one of the first guys on the real hot topwater bite. and caught a bunch of nice fish on it. And I also dumped like a 9 to 10 pounder on a lure called the Big One. It's a big stick bait. It's like this big, and it's a walking bait. Looks like it would be for striper, but it's painted like a ghost minnow, and it's specifically for bass, and it's called the Big One. And just got smoked on it. Had a monster, lost it. It was heartbreaking, but they all started turning on about this time. So I don't have the time on the water to say for a fact that that's where it's at, but I've seen friends catch them, and I've already seen some people catching swim bait fish, and I've already seen a couple of friends catching a-rig and spinnerbait fish. So I think I said spinnerbait, but I might have meant to say swim bait fish. So the big lures can work right now. My main advice would be to fish them slow. And then if that isn't working, don't hesitate to try throwing a jig or a drop shot. If you can't get bit working it normal, then you're probably moving it too fast. So especially when these cold fronts come in, usually the first day of the cold front, you actually can go a lot more faster. You can power fish. The fish are feeding up and stocking up for that front. Then once the front has moved in and it's kind of settled in, the fish are done doing their thing, they'll push off and they'll kind of try to wait it out. But these fish eat every day. At least some of the fish in the lake are going to. And that's usually when that slow drag will be ticket. So I fully expect then if I'm fishing 3 days, first day I'll probably start with some cranks and some spinner baits. Second day I might go to some things like some jerk baits and try a few other things. But if that don't work, then I'll probably be heading deeper with a jig and a drop shot and a Ned rig. I'll be fishing most likely new Maloney's for sure, but I may also be fishing the Delta, in which my game will switch up tremendously. You'll see we'll be throwing completely different stuff at those bodies of water. So at the Delta, I'll be almost exclusively throwing a spinnerbait or a crankbait or an underspin. And if I have to bottom bounce, it'll be a Texas rig. And I've been known to drop shot the Delta too and catch some fish. But I don't like to do that because I've lost a lot of monster bass at the Delta on drop shot where I've hooked them, but because I'm using 8-10 pound tests and the spinning rod and I hook them, then and they just run me rampant and take me where they want to go, and I always lose them. The crankbait fish, I've lost a bunch of monsters. Same thing when you get them. Sometimes they just run you and they're so big where it's just hard to control them without straightening your hooks or snuggles. You get a fish that big, if you force it, you're going to either snap your hooks or straighten them unless you're really changing out all your gear, your O-rings and your hooks. And I'm a lazy fisherman, honestly. I know what I need to do, and I can give you guys some advice, but it's easier for me to just hit the water. I take my chances, I just go have fun and smack into them. And I land most of the big fish, but sometimes they just punk me, especially at the Delta. But yeah, if you're fishing the lakes, you're going to want a fairy one for sure. Jig, spinner, jig, jig, drop shot, Ned rig, Nico rig is what I would probably be focusing on if you can. Bait, swim bait, crankbait, something like that. But that stuff, just make sure you're moving it real slow. Give these fish time to take it. Don't burn your baits by. It's just not that water temp's not cold enough or hot enough. In the cold, you can cold water crank and burn it, or you blade baits and things that have erratic motions that'll just force that bass into eating, or when it's really hot and their metabolisms go already. Other than that, though, you're probably gonna watch your fishing speeds. A lot of the year you can go moderate, but when you're going from a winter to spring transition or spawn, you're better to just fish slower. So hopefully these tips and tricks help out. Hope you guys enjoyed my story time tonight. Adios, Charles, Chalk, and Mike. Appreciate everybody hanging out tonight. We're going to get off, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday. And I'll be doing a ton of fishing. So I have some great videos coming out soon. So keep your eyes out for those. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Everybody have a blessed night. Thank you very much.